All right, everyone, welcome to this meetup on how to save 500 euro more per month. I have today an esteemed guest, Ruth Demoen, who is a coach at ABC Coaching, and she does personal finance coach and also speaking coach. And today, Ruth is going to talk to us about how to take care of your finances, how to take control, and how to save more money so that you can live more and give more, as I like to say. And I wanted to give a bit of context to this because in the financial independence community, we speak a lot about investments. We speak a little bit about how to make more money. And then once in a while, we speak about how to save money. But in fact, we should probably speak about it more. Why? Because it has a huge impact on our personal finances. And I'm going to wait, what's going on? I'm going to add my screen. I'm going to share my screen. Right, here we go. So this is a little tool that I've created just to make my point, right? So let's assume that you have here your personal finances and you know how much you're making, how much you're spending, and how much you're saving, right? And we see these figures monthly, and then we can add them up to see them annually. And then based on, hopefully with what we're going to share with you today and some of the work that you will hopefully do after this presentation, you could, increase your savings. And I've made a little calculation here to show what is the impact of saving 100 euro per month. Going from saving something little or not at all to saving a little bit more makes a huge difference, right? So if the baseline savings is 100, but that we are able to save an extra 200, the numbers really change massively, right? So we have here baseline saving is this line here. And if we start saving, well, triple, then obviously we end up with triple, right? But if on top of that, we learn and we invest it, it can make a huge difference, right? So sometimes doing a little bit of work to find a way to save 200 euros can really make a big difference. And that is even more true if, for example, your goal is to save 50,000 euros, right? And if you save 100 euros per month, you get, it will take a long time, more than 30 years. But if you actually save 3 times that amount, so you can do it in like 11 years, as we can see here, I think. New savings here, right? So just saving a few extra 100 euros can make a huge difference. Obviously, what we want you to be able to do is get to, I don't know, 1,000 euros saved, because that makes a huge difference if you can invest 1,000 euros a month. You can get to 800,000 in 30 years. I mean, these are the numbers that start making a big difference, right? So obviously, this is all at your own scale, right? 1,000 euros is not possible for everyone, but going from 0 to 200 or from 100 to 500 can make a big difference. And this is the whole reason why we're doing what we're doing today. All right. So thanks everyone for your patience. I will now leave the floor to Ruth. Ruth, please.
Thank you, Sebastian. And thank you for giving me this opportunity, because you know how passionate I am about money saving and all the tips and tricks. So I think it's wonderful to be able to share some insights with everyone in the FIRE community about some small steps that you can take. And when you accumulate them, they can make a difference in your finances. At the end of the day, I think in the FIRE community, more than anywhere else, managing your money is making sure that you can live the life that you choose. And that's the whole purpose of it. So, what am I going to talk to you about today? Financial wellness. In essence, what I'm talking to you about is financial wellness, because if you look at what's important in life and what creates disturbances in life, your financial situation is definitely one of them. And when you have a financial wellness, you have a happy life. That means you have no money stress, where you have resilience to handle the curveballs that life throws at you, and you have the freedom of choices. Freedom of choice is very well known in the FIRE community. I don't need to explain that. But handling the curveballs that life throws at you is, for example, if all of a sudden the roof gets blown off and you need to get it mended before the insurance company intervenes, or if you realize that you're living with someone that you don't really want to live with and you need to be able to move out and look for a different home. but more importantly, not having any money stress. That is the key to financial wellness, not having to worry paycheck to paycheck. I have in the past been there, done that. I'm no longer there, and it's a very different way of living. At the end of the day, it's about directing your money to serve your life so that you get to build the future that you want, not an unfamiliar theme in the FIRE community. And you'll know it already, right? Through the FIRE community, the secret to money isn't really a secret, but it's a solid strategy with regular habits executed with consistency. It's the famous three. It's always the same stuff that comes back. It may sound boring, but it works. A solid strategy with the right financial habits executed with consistency. Now, Sébastien shared with you that we've been talking a while about doing this. And why do we know, why is this? Well, we've connected on money. We've connected on our money values. Personally, I've been busy with money or minding my money, if I can say it like that, for myself for decades. From the moment I started working, I was tracking my money and bit by bit picking up information and learning left and right and reading about it online. Well, not online in the beginning, but as online became more of a present source of information. And the same for public speaking. So both of these skill sets, I first learned for myself. And I spent a lot of time and energy doing that. And what happens with time is that your friends and your family, they know that you're focused on this. They know you have a bit more insight than others, and they come to you and they ask questions. And so that then in 2017, when I had my burnouts, I worked with a talent coach, and she said, well, you would be really good at doing this. You'd be good at helping people. And I was thinking, yeah, let's get healthy, let's get better. But it's a seed that was planted in the back of my mind. And I spent quite some years working up the courage. And I started ABC coaching 3 years ago, and I am a personal financial coach and a public speaking coach, which means I help people empower them in these two disciplines. Why did I choose ABC coaching as a name? Because for me, being able to handle your money and being able to convey a message coherently should be just as critical and elementary in an education system as learning to read and write, as learning your ABCs. For me, they are as fundamentally necessary. I had an experience in my life a decade ago, over a decade ago. I went from 2 incomes to 1. I became single. And at that point, I was not able to save a penny. So I find myself when I was just single, I was in a phase in my life where despite having a good job in a corporate environment, I was having to count my money to make sure that I could buy groceries for the last week of the month. I had a decent income, but the reality is going from 2 incomes to 1, adjusting to that meant I had to be very mindful of where my money was going, tracking it to the penny. I was even filling in online surveys to earn extra €5 vouchers to make that little extra treat at the end of the month. So I've been in a phase where I was not able to save. And today I can honestly say with a lot of pride that because of some of the tips that I've applied that I'll be sharing with you, I'm now able to save up to 40% of my income. So that's a massive difference. Okay, it took 14 years, right? From 2010 to now, it's 14 years. But I went from not being able to save on a monthly basis to bit by bit, building up my habits, building up my income so that I could save more. And that is really the part I want to share with you. If you feel like you're right now at a place where you are not able to save, this is not a permanent place. This can change. You hear it a bit already with my testimonial just now, but I'm really someone who does what I say. So this is a post, one of my social media posts. It says Sunday morning habits. I actually update my finances every Sunday morning for both my personal finances and my business finances. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. Once it becomes a habit, a routine, it will go swiftly. I'm also active in public speaking, so I help host things, or in this case, I supported the hosts at this event. I additionally like to go outside. I like to enjoy the fresh air. So it's not all about money or public speaking. There's more to life than that, but I am passionate about both themes. I do also sometimes have to combine the two. I'm not a selfie queen, but if you want people to recognize you and to know you, the selfies are a little bit of a necessary pain. And I have my weaknesses like everyone. I've had my phases of wine and champagne. I've learned to make chocolates. I'm now learning how to play padel, and there's always something that keeps me curious. Now on to the concrete tips. And this is the first one, tip number 1. So there's 9 tips that we're going to be discussing today. And tip number 1 is for those of you who are entrepreneurs, who aren't employees and have a business that you live off of. Tip number 1 is essential for you. It is to split your personal expenses and your business expenses. This is vital. I have a lot of clients who mess this up. And if you mess this up from the beginning, it just creates this chaos and confusion. So please, tip number 1, for those of you who have your own business, separate your personal finances and your business accounts. Separate them even on different banks if you can. That is the safest way to do it so that you have no risk of confusion. Tip number 2, track your expenses. Track where your money is going. Most clients, when I have the discovery call with them, they all think they know where their money is going. They all like, I'm not doing anything special. There's nothing there. It's just it goes, but there's nothing. I don't have a fancy life. We all think we don't have a fancy life, but most of us spend money on things that we don't recognize until we track them. So some of you in the fire community are already doing this, but some of you need to get started because you probably think you know where your money is going, but you would be surprised. When you track your money, you want to separate the expenses in a couple of categories. You have your fixed costs, your variable necessary costs, and your variable luxury costs. What are your fixed costs? This is very literally all the expenses that you have every month with the same fixed amount, the same value, whether it's your rent or your mortgage, your electricity, your subscriptions, whatever it may be for you. Everything that has the same amount per month are your fixed expenses. Why is it important to separate those versus the others? Because these are the ones that you can, when you review them, when you assess them, you can make the quickest impact on your budget. So your fixed expenses are your first category that you want to identify when you're tracking your expenses. Then you have your varied necessary expenses. These are things like food, clothing, medical necessities. But again, here, be honest with yourself. Clothing, there's clothing and clothing, right? There's, I need a rain jacket because it's raining outside and I can't get wet. Or there's, I already have 5 jackets in the cupboard and I need a 6th one. They're not quite the same necessity. So be honest with yourself about, are those expenses necessities? Does everyone in the country or in the planet, would everyone need that? Or are you bending into the luxury elements? And then the luxury elements are things like, indeed, your 3rd pair of running shoes or the wine bottles in your cellar, or in my case, it's, I can't think of it right now. In my case, it's subscriptions to different clubs because I like to be active and to participate and meet other people. Your variable luxuries are also things like going to a special butcher instead of just buying your groceries at a supermarket, for example. Those would be variable luxuries as well. So make that distinction when you're tracking your expenses and be honest with yourself about these. You want to keep that distinction in mind, necessities and luxuries, your needs versus your wants. This is something that a lot of my clients have a distorted perspective on. What do you really need? It's a question that the fire community typically will answer differently than the average person in society, but you have to be honest with yourself when you track your expenses. What is really a need versus a want? Some people will say, I have a client who says I need a Velo subscription in Antwerp. And I go, well, so Velo is the card so that you have throughout the year, you can buy the share ride bicycles. And my question for this client was, well, how often do you use it? Do you really need it? It's not the biggest expense in the world, but do you really need it? Is it really a necessity, or would it be considered a luxury? And in this case, it was a luxury because this person went to work by car, did not need the bicycle for anything except for when they misjudged what they were doing that day and would cycle home 2 to 3 times a year. So need versus want. Clearly, if you use that same Velo card every day to be able to go to work, then that's a need, because anything to facilitate your income would be considered a need, within reason, of course. Tip number 3, mind the gap. Some of you have been to London, have been on the subway, and you always have to make sure that you take a big enough step, right? Your finances are no different than just taking a step and walking forward. You want to make sure that you have a sufficient gap between your income and your expenses. In some cases, unfortunately, it's the opposite. There's an overlap, meaning a deficit. So people spend more than they earn. But you want to focus on obviously earning more and spending less, so that that gap is at play. And that's the gap that you want to expand as much as possible when you do your budgeting. So the gap is the difference between your income and your expenditures. And that is the playground to direct your life. That is the money that Sebastian displayed in the start of the session. The money that any €100 extra that you can add to that gap so that you can direct it to savings and investment will give you a lot more freedom of choice, resilience in life, and what was the third one? I can't think of it right now, but it will give you a lot more financial wellness the more you can grow that gap. Tip number, yes, the gap. The gap is not just about reducing your expenses so that you have a bigger gap, but it's also about increasing your income. I have clients where it's not about living cheaper, if I can say it like that. I have clients where it's all about finding new income streams, deciding to invest in themselves so that they can increase their income to be able to achieve their life goals. So think about that genuinely. You have your day job. Can you do something extra? Can you do something to either grow your skill set or earn more money on a side gig? That brings me to tip number 4. Create a realistic budget. In my sessions with my clients, we always do an exercise of where do you think your money is going to? Where is it really going to? And then creating a budget. And the discussions we have on this budget situation is very, very real. They are not necessarily in the beginning able to be realistic about creating a budget. And that, of course, is the key to everything, right? If you're going to tell yourself, I'm going to eat for €50 in a month, and you know that nowadays you eat for hundreds of euros, yeah, that's just not realistic. You have to be realistic about what your targets in your budget are. We all have weaknesses, we all have our soft spots, and you have to take that into account in your budget, as well as the reality of needing shelter, food, etc. So creating a realistic budget is critical to be able to save more money. For those of you who have your own business, create also a realistic financial plan for your business. Your business will generate the income that you can live off of. It is crucial that you don't overestimate things there either. What I have for my own business, I have a financial plan of this is the bare necessity. Then I have one, this would be nice. And then I have one of, oh, that would be super cool. So be realistic as well in your financial plan in your business. And that brings me to tip number 5, one of the most misunderstood tips amongst my clients: pay yourself first. Pay yourself first implies that from the moment your income hits your bank account, you immediately transfer it to another location and you treat it as if it was an invoice. For whatever your purpose is, in this case, to learn to save more, you make sure it gets removed from the start of your payment so that it immediately gets put out of sight and directed to what matters to you most. My tip for this is try to put it on a separate bank. Out of sight is out of mind, and that works the easiest to save. But pay yourself first means track when you get your paycheck, or if you pay yourself, track when the Sociaalsecretariaat does that, executes that payment, and then make sure that 2 days later it's already off. Whatever you plan to save is already off. For me, it's literally done within 2 days. In fact, for me, in my finances, within the first 5 work days of the month, all my money is gone except for the money I have to live off of that month, sorry. The rest of the budget is gone to separate accounts for dedicated goals. Automate it. I don't spend the 1st to the 5th of the month every day making transfers and doing things like that. Automate as much as possible. The best money strategy is to not be taking care of your money, in the sense of automate it. Don't have to think about it, and don't provoke yourself by seeing the amount that you got paid and then thinking, yeah, but I'm only keeping a fraction of it to live off of. No, automate it so you don't get that confrontation every time. Before I go to tip number 6, are there any questions already? I can't quite see the chat, so I'm not sure if someone might have questions on the first 5 tips I've discussed. Was there something in the chat, Sebastian?
So far, mostly encouragements.
Awesome, thank you. So thanks for the support with the interruptions. I really appreciate it.
No
Number 6 then, create a crisis and an emergency fund. These are 2 terms that typically, when you look on the internet and you look for guidance, they kind of get mixed up. I've made them very separate concepts. A crisis fund is money that you will need instantly, within 24 hours. For example, if your fridge breaks down, you're not going to be waiting until your next paycheck to buy a new fridge. Or if your glasses fall on the ground and someone steps on them and you don't have contact lenses, you need to replace those glasses. It might be your mobile phone. For the entrepreneurs, it might be the laptop that you need to replace instantly. For everyone, it will be different. That's why it's 1,000 to 1,500 euros. It depends on your personal situation, what money it would be, what amount it would be. For larger families, it's going to be the washing machine and the dryer for sure. It's very, very personal, but make sure that you have 1,000 to 1,500 euros available instantly. And that money, honestly, I would keep on the same account that you do your usual, on the same bank that you do your paying your usual transactions. Just keep it on a different bank account, on a savings account, so that you don't spend it throughout the month. But have it readily available so that you can handle a crisis that needs to be handled like this. Then you have the emergency fund. Now, most of you are going to be familiar with this in the FIRE community. For employees, for people who have a salary, typically the recommendation is 3 to 6 months of your expenses. Again, this is very personal, right? When I started out, I had almost 10 months of expenses in my emergency fund because, frankly, I was starting to invest, and I was just used to having saved it on the bank account, and it took me a while to be comfortable. By now, I've reduced it to 4.5 months of expenditures that I need, and I'm comfortable with that. 4.5 months is quite a nice amount of money to be able to handle unexpected situations. For the self-employed, for in your business, of course, it's going to be a different amount. And that will, again, vary a lot between what kind of business you have and whether you are confident that you will get a new assignment quite quickly or whether it might take time. I have clients who only have 1 month's buffer in their business. And I have clients who have over a year of their salary as a buffer in their business. So it's very personal, and it depends entirely on your business, how well you handle risk, and how confident you are that you will be able to get a new assignments. Be mindful for the business owners. Be mindful to not duplicate the buffers in your business or in your personal finances. You don't need it double, right? If you have your emergency fund in your personal finances, if you have 6 months of buffer that you know, if I don't get a paycheck from my business, then you don't need that buffer in the business for the salary. But of course, you do need your buffer in your business for your other business expenditures. So be mindful of that, to not duplicate your buffers, so that you can put whatever money would free up in this situation to use and invest it. Tip number 7. So I already told you at the start, I update my expenses every week, every Sunday. And every Sunday, I simply put it in, I track it in. It costs me 2-3 minutes a week. It's not a big deal. I sometimes really don't want to do it, despite that I've been doing this for decades. There are times when I really think, ugh, but I tell myself, then I've earned my run outside, so I just do it. It's not that big of a deal. So the weekly tracking is to make sure that you are on track, that you're not headed in the wrong direction. For example, if in the beginning of the month, I've gone to a dinner with a friend that turned out much more expensive than I usually am used to, then I know I'll have to be more mindful the rest of the month on my living expenses. You also want to assess monthly to really check, hey, my expenditures, where did I spend money versus what I really care about? In my case, I have a very clear top 3 of priorities in my life. And if money goes to something else than those 3, I tend to not be so pleased with myself. And I tend to reassess whether that was necessary or not. Now, sometimes that's okay, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. You may know the 20-80 rule. If 80% of your money is going to what matters to you most, it's already a pretty good start. It's already much better than the average person. But I like to make sure that I'm really headed towards my goals. So evaluate this every month to make sure that the money you have spent has gone to what matters most to you. Ooh, that went too fast. Also, the yearly update. Once a year, for me, it's in September. When the kids go back to school, that's the time that I evaluate actually both my budget and my financial investments. And in September, I take and make an assessment, a full assessment. I take an hour or 2 to properly go through the numbers of how did it go the past, in September, 9 months? And then how are my investments doing versus my strategy? And I really reassess that. Now, to be very honest, candid, the past years, not much has changed in my strategy. My lifestyle, my life situation has not changed. So there's no reason. However, if you go from being single to being in a relationship, to living together, to having babies, to buying a house, whatever life events have happened, they will be reasons for you to reassess your strategy and to adjust. You obviously don't need to wait till that one moment in the year to adjust. To adjust your strategy. A lot of people do this January 1st. I'm not a fan of that. I like to do it at my rhythm. I feel like too many people are doing everything January 1st. So for me, it's September. Then tip number 8, and this one is really important because so few people do this. That's why they end up reaching out to me. Money talk. Whether it is with your partner, with friends, with family, with colleagues, talking about money appropriately, of course, versus the context is so crucial to essentially spreading the knowledge and the insights. If tomorrow you can tell someone something that you learned today or that you thought was a good reminder, please spread the word. It's important that we all talk much more about money. The FIRE community, of course, is fabulous in doing so, but the reality is that in society, not enough people are objectively talking about money. For partners, I would recommend that you schedule a money date. I used to do this with my ex once a month when I did the monthly review. We would sit together. It would be about 5-10 minutes. It wouldn't take very long to assess what have we done, where did we spend money on, how much is on our savings account, what do we want to do with it, that kind of discussion. It doesn't have to be a long time. You can talk about it forever if you like and talk philosophically about money, but just the practical money discussion once a month is extremely valuable, not only for your finances, but for your relationship as well. If you don't have a partner, and as is my case, find an accountability buddy. I have someone who I meet up with probably by now every 2 months. We used to meet every month, but our agendas don't allow for it. Every 2 months, we get together and we talk about money. We talk about where are we at this point in our financial situation, what's going well, what's not going well, can we help each other? that kind of stuff. So there could be someone in this community that you've met at one of the meetups, right? There was a meetup a couple of weeks ago, or go to a next meetup, find an accountability buddy so that you can together meet up once a month and discuss about your individual progresses and support each other in these things. And then there's a trend, well, new trend, it's been a couple of months in the meantime, but there's a trend on TikTok that the youth does that I actually did as well when I was just single. When I was just single, and I told you I had to make sure in the beginning of the month to be very mindful so that I would have enough money to make the end of the month from a food perspective. And this was tough because I just became single and I'm a social person, and all of a sudden I couldn't afford to go out. That was just my reality. And what I did at the time was my close friends, I told them, listen, I really would love for you guys to come over. I would love cooking. I love to cook for you, but I need you guys to pay for the ingredients because I just can't fit it in my budget. They were happy, of course. They were happy to come and have a cooked meal. And I was relieved about being able to just stay on my budget, because otherwise I would have to be asocial, very literally, just lock myself up because I didn't have that bandwidth in the beginning of my adventure, of my financial adventure. Loud budgeting is the same. It's about people communicating upfront. No, I'm not going to do that because I choose to do something else with my money. So it's not necessarily I can't make ends meet if I do this, but it's about communicating choices that activity is not a priority right now because I'm doing something else. And that brings me to tip number 9. It's not going to be much of a surprise for the FIRE community, but it is invest regularly. Clearly invest. If you already have your crisis fund and emergency fund and you understand what you're investing in, right? That's very, very critical. Invest regularly and start as early as you can. I just had a discussion, yesterday, Sunday was yesterday. I just had a discussion with a friend yesterday who was asking me, well, from what moment do I start? Do I have to save up to 1,000 euros and invest 1,000 euros in one go? Invest from as early as you can. Do your homework, of course, on what platforms you use and what the costs are, but invest as early as you can. You're better off investing early and a little bit than waiting longer. Compound interest, the eighth world wonder, according to Albert Einstein, really will be on your side, not just literally on your investments, on your financial investments, but also in your financial habits. In the beginning, when you try to change things, it takes time, right? When you draft your new budget, you won't be able to stick to it from the beginning because we're all creatures of habit. It's human nature, and you'll fall back into your old habits and old mistakes, especially when you're tired or stressed or just not feeling it. I still do this too. I've been tracking my expenses for 2 decades, I think by now. Yeah, more. And honestly, I still make mistakes. If sometimes I on the Sunday morning, I wasn't able to update my expenses because I was traveling or whatever it may be, I sometimes discover that I messed up, and it happens. It's human nature. So it's important to keep correcting yourself and building on those good financial habits. And then it's not about just investing your money. It's about investing in yourself, in growing your skill set. I told you at the start of the session that I'd really improved my savings rate from not being able to prove anything at all to quite a nice percentage. This did not happen overnight. This really didn't happen overnight. It took a lot of time in me investing in my skill set and becoming more valuable in the office. I don't know if some people are from the office are listening, but those who are here, they would agree that I am not the lady that I was so many years ago. I have grown, I've become more valuable, and I've become more versatile, essentially. I've grown on more skills than I had a decade ago. So invest in yourself, invest in your skill set. Figure out what you are good at and get better at that. Focus on that first, and then, if in time you need to focus on skills that you're not so good at, might be interesting, but focus first on what you are already good at to get better at that, to be the best at that. Those were my 9 steps to financial clarity and control. So it's your money. You need to take action to direct your life. whether you want to go on holidays, buy a house, have a clear conscience for your retirement, go traveling, have money saved for your kids when they're ready to leave the house, or whether you want to kick off your own business, whatever your financial goal may be, you need to take action. I don't know if there are any questions so far on these 9 steps.
So there's a couple questions on free bank accounts and how to decide how many to open.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan on free. I completely agree. And it varies a lot which banks offer free accounts. They don't stay consistently the same. So do your research. There are 2 or 3 very more common ones, I would say, that offer free accounts, but it varies a lot. So do your research, but I agree you want to go for free bank accounts and not for the big ones that charge you €5.50 every month. It annoys the hell out of me. Was there another question?
It was mostly on this. I think there was another one on, are there other good free tools to track expenses?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of Excel. I have to be honest. I like the control of it. I like the security of it, that no one can access my information. There are 2 apps which I've heard a lot about that seem to be better, but the ones that are free, let's be honest, they're not free. You're giving your data, you're giving your information. So the one that I've heard consistently through time that is considered to be reliable and good is You Need a Budget, YNAB. That's the one that through time is consistently got good reviews. There used to be another one, but that has stopped. So it's a bit of a, You Need a Budget is the one that has stayed available through time. You have to pay for it, but it's the one that you can most tailor to your life and to your saving goals. Then there's one that is also offered by the Flemish government, where I trust that they don't abuse your data, but that will only allow you to track your expenses. It won't allow you to track to track your progress towards your goals. It works 1 month at a time, and then it loses the history, which is a little bit of a shame. And that's called Wacosta. It's from the Flemish authorities. It's good if you're looking at, okay, this is my budget for my living expenses, and you want to keep track of it on the phone instead of keeping track of it in Excel, then it works. But if it's about keeping track on your progress, then that app is not as useful. I do everything in Excel. I'm a big fan of Excel. I developed a tool for it, and I prefer having control over my information.
Yeah, and in case the apps, for example, have to stop being available, then you
Yeah.
don't lose the data. That's quite useful. There's another question here from Xavier. What are the top 5 expenses you see your clients that they actually do make cuts, like they actually find
Okay.
ways to optimize?
Don't know if there's a top 5, but there's a top 2 or 3 for sure. All the takeaways. They are so shocked about takeaways and going out to dinners. How many people say, oh, I've had a tough day, I'm going to take out food? That is definitely number 1 that gets cut very easily. They're like, I can go and do that only once every 2 weeks instead of every 2 days. That is the first one. The second one is online shopping. And for the online shopping, it's quite simple. Well, quite simple. Nothing is simple if you don't want to do it. But if you want to stop online shopping, you just go to your different sites that you are vulnerable to, and you remove all those payment details, the credit cards, the bank cards. You remove all of that. I used to tell my clients, just erase all your cookies, but then sometimes that had impact on work. So they decided to, rightfully so, to be more mindful and just remove all the payments on the credit cards. And then the third one, that's a big one, is travel. A lot of people somehow they're able to save, and then once they see an amount of money on their bank accounts, instead of having given an assignment like an emergency fund, I know I can't touch this because this is for when life throws a curveball at you. Instead of that, they go, ooh, I could go on holiday. And let's be real, social media really triggers that with a lot of people, right? What do you see from your friends and family? You only see the good stuff on social media. What do you hear when you meet up with them? Sometimes they ask for help on when they're going through tough times, but a lot of the times it's all the good news that gets shared. And it seems to trigger what I see in my clients a lot of, I want to travel a lot as well. So I have a certain couple who is hugely struggling with finding the balance between they want a house, they want a baby one day, and they want to travel a lot. And they have to make choices, right? It's their life, it's their choice. If they want to travel an insane amount, that's fine, but then it will mean that that house will come later, and it will mean that, yeah, they're going to have to make a decision about how important this baby is or not. So it's about choices, but those are the top three: eating out, vacation, and online shopping.
Yeah, and I think the last example you gave there is really important for a lot of people. Basically, it comes down to making decisions as to what is more important, right?
Yeah,
And is it more important to have all these things, or is it more important to have the savings and then finding the balance?
yeah,
I think there's that part, and then there's the other part, which is optimizing the spending that you have to make anyway, just do it better, smarter, right?
yeah.
Um, and
Yeah,
that
my focus with
applies.
my clients is more about clarifying their priorities and directing to their priorities the money
Yeah.
than really looking at where's I don't know, the chicken the cheapest, or where's the best deal for the soap for the laundry or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, which this can happen as well, right? But
Yeah.
usually the
The
bigger
bigger
money
expenditures are
savers,
the,
yeah.
yeah, you focus on the bigger expenditures, and I do tell them I have a list of the top 10 ingredients that I buy the most that I know the prices of. So
Hmm.
just the top 10. Anything that's not in the top 10, I'm not so picky about, but the top 10 I know where I get what I get at what price it normally is.
And this comes after having done the foundational work, which is doing the tracking, getting a full understanding, having clarity, right?
Yeah,
Which is a big step in doing this, which is one of the initial tips.
absolutely. Yeah.
Um, I don't know if there's more questions. I think we can continue forward, or we could take more questions
Okay.
later.
So for some of you, these tips are useful, and for some of you, it's still a bit of a chaos. So I've summarized them on a list here. So that separates your personal and professional bank accounts, track your expenses, mind the gap, create a realistic budget, pay yourself first, create a crisis and emergency fund. That's almost two tips. Evaluate regularly, talk about money, and invest regularly. Also in yourself, in your skill set. It's really important. Don't just think of investing as only about money. It's about how and where you spend your time and what you will get out of it afterwards.
I just have a question, maybe, Ruth, before we continue. Do people have to do all of these, or?
Yeah, listen, the more you accumulate habits, the better your result you're going to get. If you focus on one or two only, it will help, it will get better. But the reality is that I believe in immersion. I believe in really obsessing about something to make a difference. A little bit that how I started investing in ETFs at the time. I was completely clueless, and I went completely obsessively. Yes, in the beginning, you want to apply all these tips as much as possible together. You can't go and do it all in one go, right? You build it up bit by bit. You start by tracking your expenses, then you see where your reality is. You can start creating a realistic budget, start automating things, and bit by bit you build it up. So it's not an overnight thing of today I'm going to decide this and in the weekend I'm going to execute it all. But yeah, you want to execute as fast as possible all of these tips. You can't build a new skill set overnight either, right? It
Yeah.
takes time to
It,
do
I
that
mean,
and build.
so all of those are useful, but you do them progressively, right? When I'm saying this is somebody who's not doing any of this, like that might look like it's a lot to deal with
Yeah.
all at once, but certainly doing it one at a time.
And if you're not doing
It
any of
works.
these, you start by tracking your expenses.
Hmm.
And an exercise I do with my clients is I have them make an estimation of their expenses, and then we compare it to the reality, and they're always mistaken by hundreds of euros, hundreds of euros. It's I don't want to say disturbing because that's not right there, but it's human nature. It's human nature to be optimistic about what you're doing and how you're living. And the reality is that everyone, every single one, even the people who have quickly cheated and done their research before they have their session with me, they still get mistaken by a couple hundred euros. It's yeah,
Yeah. All
it's
right.
inevitable.
Let's continue. I know you've
Yes.
prepared something for the people
Yes.
who want
So
to make
for
sure.
those who think I want to swear now, but I don't want to swear on an online recording. But for those who think, how am I going to get through this? Because it is overwhelming if you've not done any of these steps. It is a lot. For those of you for who that is relevant, we are offering a mastermind this evening, a 500 euro mastermind, a limited online workshop in a small group for a maximum 10 people to take you through tackling the basis of personal finance in 4 live online sessions on October 28, November 18, December 9, and January 13. Online in Zoom, complemented with sessions in between, actually. So those are the actual group working sessions, and we will have accountability Q&A sessions in between those. Depending on the moments that everyone is available, we'll do a doodle on that for that. And we also have a complimentary offer, an 8th session as well. So it's 4
Yes.
working sessions, 3 accountability ones in between, and then an 8th surprise session as
Yeah,
well.
so here, this is maybe to clarify for everyone. At Fire Belgium, we speak about investing a lot, and we have a lot of support to help people start investing. We have a program that basically teaches that. But a lot of people also come to the community and say, "Hey, can you help me, take control of my finances, build a foundation, so that then I can invest." And so I reached out to Ruth so that we could develop that together. And in fact, I don't have to develop anything because she's been doing this for a while. And so Ruth is basically now putting together a mastermind group with people from our community to work through this one step at a time over a period of a few weeks. These are 4 sessions here, right? These are live sessions. Um,
In
and
English.
in English, yes, there's going to be 3, I think, accountability sessions in between, and 1 session with me where I will, but Ruth is going to tell you about this, but there's an extra session. So in total, there's 8 sessions. And so this is a paid program, right? It's called the 500 euro mastermind. This is not the price. We'll tell you the price a bit later.
Yeah.
I guess that can be confusing. I thought I would clarify. Let's continue.
No worries. Yeah. So why are we doing this? Because, well, I think one of the values Sebastian and I share is the value of sharing and helping people take control over their finances. Sebastian does it through investing. I do it through helping them manage their finances. And I think that's the essence of it, right? Financial wellness is the fundament to a happy life. It's what I said at the beginning of the session. It really is true. Once you get your financial situation organized, you just sleep so much better. You don't have to worry about, are you doing your best? Because you know you are. You know you're taking the necessary steps. You create your future by directing your money to your life goals. A lot of people know they should take action but procrastinate. I don't know if some of you follow me on social media, but one of the posts that I have that I keep repeating whenever I do one of my free sessions is something that happened in real life. It happened in the office, actually. Someone said, "Hey, I follow you on LinkedIn." It's like, very good. It's like, did you take action in your personal finances? No, not yet. It is so typical. So many people know they should do better, know they have the income that deserves more attention and they could be saving and setting their future up for success, but they procrastinate. They don't take action. And they don't take action because A, it takes time to collect all the information, and it's just slow when you do it by yourself. I told you I started in 2010. The knowledge I've accumulated, it took a lot of time to put that together and to find a system that worked. And it wasn't just, oh, I find something on the internet and apply it. I adjusted it to meet my specific life goals. And that's what I do also with my clients. So these are live groups that we're talking about, and that's one of the key elements. It's a live coaching session for 10 people where you can keep each other accountable as well by just being present, but also where you inspire each other. You'll hear questions and that you wouldn't have thought of, and that will help think of new ideas for yourself that might make sense in your personal finances. So it's an efficient course because 4 online sessions, honestly, it's very efficient. It is similar to what I do with my private one-on-one coaching clients. It is intense. It's 4 sessions is like I said, I believe in immersion. So that is exactly what it is. Where we have accountability to increase your chance of success. So we will be seeing each other live in those Zoom sessions. We'll be tackling the basis of personal finance so that you become more conscious of where your money goes. You'll have more control, more insights into your finances, and you'll be able to direct it to what matters to you most. I really have clients who, when they come to me, they just live and they know they need to take care of other things, but they haven't gotten around to it. And going through those steps really helps them create clarity and structure for their finances. This is a success story of one of my coaches. This is a lady, she was in her 30s. She has her own business. So that's BV. It's the business. It's not a bekende Vlaming. She's in her 30s, has a solo budget, though they live together as a mixed family. And she had a regular income. She was doing quite good from that perspective. And she had, by the way, almost more financial books than me. It was impressive, but she still lacked the insights to take action. And so that's what we took care of. We worked through her situation, enabling her then to talk about money with her life partner, which was one of the topics which it turned out they talked about the practicalities. Oh, should we buy the jacket for the kids there or there? Those day-to-day financial conversations were taking place, but not the higher level conversations of how are we sharing the burden of the household and what is right and fair and equitable. So those conversations were opened up through the coaching. And she tackled her financial leaks, right? We all have weaknesses. I know what mine is. I know what mine used to be because I stopped drinking, but mine used to be wine. I used to not be able to go to a wine shop and wine tasting and not buy wine. It would just be impossible. That was my weakness. And so I solved that by having a budget. And if the budget is gone, well, then you don't go to wine tastings anymore that year. It's just that simple. So I was allowed to, but to a certain extent. So there are 4 steps to this clarity, and it's like a GPS. It starts with you turn on your GPS and you tell the first thing is that we'll look for a satellite. Google Maps will look for where are you now, right? That's what it asks you. Is your starting position your current position? And your current position is your net worth, everything that you have minus your debt. That's your starting position, together with your whatever it is you have already built up for your retirement. It varies a lot for different people, especially if you've worked in different countries. It can be extremely colorful experience to collect that information. We look at through the ABC budget tool, we make an overview of where your expenses are going. You can, with dedicated categories suitable for your life. We make an assessment on your monthly spending, and we work on a crisis fund. That's the first session only. That's already a lot of topics. It's a lot on the first session because this is a kickoff for the rest, and we will be fine-tuning some of these top themes in the second session. Between the first and second session, there's some homework to do, some assignments, some follow-ups at home, so that your spending pattern is clarified for yourself. So we will work in the second session on financial priorities and goals. There's a sort of mini life coaching element to that. We'll clarify how you are doing as far as your crisis and emergency fund. How much should it be? And how much have you already got? And then we'll be doing some feedback on how your spending has already evolved in those first 2-3 weeks between those 2 sessions. Because that is something my clients experience between sessions in. They already start feeling a shift in mindset. They already start going on about money in a different manner. Then the third step is, where are you now? The GPS, you turn it on. Where do you want to go to? You say your destination. And then the third part is, how do you get there? What's your path to success? And this is very individual. Everyone will have different budgets that they will draft. But before you draft a budget, you still need to look at your irregular costs. And irregular costs are things like insurances, maintenance, and taxes. We all have to face some of these at some point in life. That's just the reality of things. But just because it comes once a year doesn't mean that you can't plan for that. So that's something that we do in the third session. And on top of that, we then add other things to this irregular costs. And it depends on your life. So I just shared with you, for me, my wine budget was in the irregular costs. My clothing budget is on the irregular costs. I don't want at the end of the month to not be able to buy clothes that are on sale in the one place where I always buy my clothes just because that month my living expenses are gone. So I have that in that reserve for irregular costs. Then you draft. So this is right. How are you going to get there? You draft your budget. You decide what is the budget I'm going to choose that is going to set my targets, make me get to my life goals. And then we meet the next year in January 13th, where we then assess how did that past month go. You will probably by then have come up with more elements to update in your irregular costs. And some of you will need to adjust your monthly budget. Some of you will not. Some of you will already be in a good position and have had good insights. But I would say 90%. So if we have 10 participants, 9 of you are going to be updating your budget. And that's just the reality of things. It's like you said, Sebastian, it's not overnight. It's not perfect. It's learning by doing. And it requires fine-tuning on a regular basis.
Yeah, and now that you're going through this framework, which I've seen the framework before, but now that I see you explaining it, it's actually that's the process I have followed as well when I started taking care of my finances. This was 2011, 2012, and I've gone through those same steps, and it's quite nice to see them, in this nice format.
Yeah.
And something else I wanted to point out is you mentioned how people's mindset is already shifting between the first and the second session, and I think that's essential. Basically, being able to save more money isn't necessarily just about the tools and the techniques. It's also just the way we think.
The tools and the techniques, I mean, those are common sense, right? It's about first of all, you have the group environment, which creates accountability and it creates a momentum that you keep going. But indeed, it's your mindset shift that changes, and it changes for the better, and it will continue changing after this, right? This is not just from October 28 to January 13 that you evolve in your money mindset. It is a continuous practice. You will be stimulated to keep learning about money, to keep reading up on money, and that really, really contributes to continuous evolution in your money mindset. A different success story. So these are all anonymized. It's on purpose. My individual coaching clients, actually, most of them are people who are in very good life situations and are embarrassed that despite their good life situations, they don't know how to manage their money. There's a bit of a tension there. But money is already often taboo in Flanders. And then on top of that, those who are quite successful, who earn well above the average income, they feel like they have this moral obligation to know what they're doing, and therefore they are even more stuck on their anonymity, I would say. This is a guy, he was in his 40s. It was last year, last summer. Yeah, I think so. He's in a solo budget, so living alone with taking care of all his expenses himself, but he's in a living alone together relationship. So he had a partner who had their own home. And he had his own business with irregular turnover, so it was getting a bit painful. He wasn't always able to pay himself a full salary, so it got to be very, very troublesome. And his problem was he was so deep into chaos that he didn't know what he really needed to do. He just said, show me the light, show me where I'm headed, and then I'll figure out how to get there. Essentially, that's what happened in this coaching session. So we did the math, we did the steps, right? We did, where are you now? By the way, this is also a client who just before we started working together spent hundreds of euros in IKEA because he knew that once he would be working with a financial coach, he wouldn't be spending that anymore. So it's a little bit of an adverse reaction sometimes. Where are you now? Where are you going to go to? So in his case, he knew exactly what he wanted his life to be like. And then he needed the math, right? He needed the calculation of the budget. What is it going to take to build that life? Within 2 months, he was able to increase his income with exactly the amount that we had calculated he needed to make his budget work to build the life that he wanted. 2 months. I swear to you, I would never have bet it would happen so fast. I was confident it would happen, but not 2 months. That was very, very impressive. And then in the meantime, 18 months later, he's starting to invest. He reached out to me about investing. Now, I don't give financial investment guidance or coaching, but that was pretty cool experience to have, right? Last summer, he was still learning about his budget and getting insights in how he spends and what he wants his life to be. And then a year and a half later, he's already looking into investing. So that means his crisis and emergency fund were sorted on. That is pretty cool. So this mastermind offer that we are doing, for 10 people, the 4 sessions with the online group sessions with 3 check-ins in between and 1 extra session with Sebastian. For who is this ideally? The optimal client is the person who already has either, if you have your own business, you already have you're comfortable with your business, you don't have any cash flow stresses there, you're able to pay yourself your salary regularly, you're able to pay your expenses in your business without any stress. You have a buffer in your business. That's for the entrepreneurs. And for employees, we're looking at people who have 3,500 euros net salary. From that perspective, you are the optimal person who can make the biggest difference. Does this mean that if you earn less that you can't make a difference? No, but it might not be 500 euros per month, right? Let's be real. The lower your income, the harder it's going to be to make a big dent in that gap. But the reality is that if you get into the right mindset, if you start identifying your situation, you will have your motivation to also work on improving that income. So in this mastermind, we learn, it's for people who need financial insights, who need concrete steps and accountability in a group environment to managing your money. There are follow-up tasks in between the sessions, so you have to be prepared to invest your time in that. And we work in Excel or Google Sheets. I have not developed an app for this. Someone has offered to do that together with me, but the investment is very big for what so far I don't see is enough demand, to be honest. Again, a summary of what we're offering. So where are you now? Where do you want to go to? How are you going to get there? What's your path to success so that you can lead your new life? So the investment for this is 797 euros for the online course. So for the 4 online sessions and the accountability sessions in between, the Q&A sessions, on top of an extra bonus session with Sebastian. So what do you get for this? 4 sessions, group coaching, not just a course, it's coaching. There is a difference, right? We will be interacting in this course. We are all about taking action, about accountability. The basis of personal finance will be overviewed with support of my ABC budget tool. So that's a tool that I developed for myself and have been fine-tuning with experience for my clients as well. For concrete steps to take charge of your personal finances with accountability. That is really important. That's why clients work with me. Right now I'm working with a client. Honestly, this person is very capable and knowledgeable, but the accountability part is what's missing in their life. We also have a premium offer for those of you who think just the group sessions might not be enough for me. I'm going to need a bit more of pressure on me. And for those people, we are offering a premium offer where on top of the group sessions, you also have access to 2 private coaching sessions with me of 1 hour and online support through a chat. So either WhatsApp or Telegram, I think it is that I have, where we can, throughout the sessions between October and January, make sure that you take action and make it happen. At the end of the day, that's all I care about. I want you to make it happen. If you don't need the course and you're going to take action, awesome. Awesome. Please write me about it so that I know that this session was useful to you. But if you know deep down that you've not been taking action for way too long and your money is not really working for you and it's just kind of sitting there and you don't really know what to do with it and how much you can miss, this is definitely the program that can help you make a dent in your mindset, in your money mindset.
Yeah, when I was thinking about this, it's really about the commitment, right?
Yes.
Because these are live sessions, because it's going to be with a group of committed people, it just makes it happen. And it's not a small price, right? It's not a course that you pay 29 euros for and then maybe you watch it, maybe you don't. No, this is something that you commit to so that you actually commit to working on it to get the results.
And that's the whole point, right? It's about making sure people take action, because there, statistically, if you look at online courses and how many people buy them and how many people don't take action, it's actually sad. The whole point of this program is to actually take action. I'm not interested in people signing up and then not showing up. That's not the point. The point is to help you take concrete action, take real steps.
Yeah, make a big difference. That's great.
So this again is the overview of your GPS, your money GPS. Where are you now? Where do you want to go? What's your success to what's your path to success towards your new life? You see the arrow still keeps going, right? It doesn't end after this, but it is the direction that you're going to be headed. We already shared the bonus session. Do you want to discuss this, save them from my voice a little bit?
You can take a rest for a little bit. Yeah, so basically when we were brainstorming this with Ruth, I was wondering how can I help as well, and how can I provide value that is not available anywhere else, really. And I think there what I can do is share how I run my personal finances and how I have developed my personal finance habits, especially at the beginning of my journey. I guess what I do today is less relevant if you're learning to save, but certainly what I was doing back then and how it evolved and how it helped me. So that's what I will be talking about. So I will share my journey to financial independence, right? Being in debt in 2011 all the way to quitting my job 6 years ago now in 2018. But certainly the main part will be the beginning, I think, and then how things have evolved for me. Because one thing you need to realize is you're going to do the work here for a few months, right? But the benefits will be for the rest of your life, and you don't have to keep doing hard work all the time, not necessarily. It's really about finding what works for you, and I will share basically how that went for me, and you can ask me a question. I can give you feedback also on your process situation. So this is also access to me. That's the key.
Yeah, and it's you said a good point. It's not the necessarily, you can be, right? If you're a control person like me, you might be working in a spreadsheet for many years. I like seeing it. I get a kick out of knowing that I'm doing well. But for my clients, the goal is often, once they get the insights, to automate it so they don't have to keep looking at the spreadsheet, right? So that they only need to look at, okay, this is the money I'd foreseen for the month to live off of. I seem to be needing more. Where did I go wrong? And that's the only thing they look at. They automate all the rest. How do you sign up? I don't know if you can put the link in the chat, Sébastien, but there's the link for the mastermind. So registrations are open until October 21st. That's essentially a week. Why is that? Because we start the week after, right? So we need the time to get everything properly organized, or once the first 10 spots are filled. So in essence, it's a matter of whatever comes first. Either next week, Monday, I believe is October 21st, or when the 10 spots are filled. Again, my purpose is really to make it active, to take action during these sessions, and to make sure that you take steps forward. For those of you who are considering to join as a couple, please reach out to me and Sébastien so we can align on this and see what we can do for you, because sitting two people behind one screen isn't always very practical. On the other hand, paying two full prices is also a different situation. So reach out to us so that we can see what we can do. Again, your investment for this, if you do the mastermind by itself, is 797 euros. And if you do it with the premium bonus, with the 2 private coaching sessions with me on top of the group sessions, as well as the private chat support, that's 1,597 euros. So if you think about it, if you take this, you're talking about 4 coaching sessions, 3 Q&A sessions, a bonus session with Sébastien, and 2 additional sessions with private coaching with me. So that's 10 moments that you will be actively working on your money between the starting date of October 28th and end of January. That's 10 10 sessions, that's a lot. In between, you'll be doing homework. That's really going to get you moving, going to get you motivated. I didn't tell you at the beginning I was going to give some bonus tips, but okay, for those who are still here are some bonus tips. I value these. These are things that I think are very important. And the bonus tip number 1 is protect yourself. I see a lot of things with my clients, and I see that they aren't always resilient to the realities of life and the surprises of life. So I would plead with you, please double check that you have the necessary insurances that you might need. Certainly, if you're self-employed, make sure that you have, in case of illness and etc., that you will not fall without income. But also for those of you who have your own businesses, go to your notary to protect your relationship and to protect your home. Depending on what your personal situation is with your partner, there are different ways that the notary can help protect you. And for your home, especially for those who are zelfstandige ondernemer, dus eenmanszaak, sole proprietor in English. I don't know the French word, Sébastien.
I'm not sure. I think it's employed as a physical person.
Yes, it's those that's for those people who, when you're doing business, essentially everything you own is at risk. Know that there is also a protection that you can do for your home. It's called, in Flemish, it's called verklaring van onbeslagbaarheid. Look into it. I did it for myself as well. I'm very risk averse. I did it for myself. Look into that if you have your own business. And then the second bonus tip is go to mypension.be. Look up what it is you will be getting on a monthly basis and on one-time payments as well. It varies a lot for people, but I can tell you that I would say 3/4 of my clients are disappointingly surprised. It is not just because you do the pension savings plan that the government highly inspires you to, doesn't mean you're going to be okay. In fact, I was recently talking to a friend who's retired and telling him, I'm giving him as an example, they went through the money that they got from that insurance, they went through it in the first year. That is not going to save your retirement. If you really want to prepare yourself for the future, go to mypension.be. If you worked abroad, collect that information. Go through the pain now and not when you're 60. Go through the pain now, make an overview of exactly what you have built up where, because it will not be the same as what you would need to live off of. And you need to have that insight in the beginning. I have an upcoming free event as well in September, sorry, at the end of the month. Are you able to put that in the chat as well, Sebastian? Do you have that link or not? I don't know if I shared that with you. In any case, you can find the link on, I'll put it in the chat later.
Yeah.
I do this every month, 1 month in Dutch, 1 month in English. So October is the one in English where we calculate the net worth, where I help you. If you're not able to do this program or it's just not the right time for you, you can at least get started on calculating your net worth now. It's not a huge effort on your behalf, but it is the beginning to insights and to needing to take action. Again, the mastermind we're offering tonight is 797 euros for the 4 online sessions completed with 3 Q&A sessions and a bonus with Sebastian. And for those of you who would like some more support for the additional 2 private coaching sessions and the private chat support, whether it's on WhatsApp or Telegram, that would be 1,597 euros. I don't know if there are any questions about this. I've been talking a lot.
Yeah, we can take some questions. Let me see if there's anything that I can share. A lot of people are thanking you for your time, and some of them have really left. Someone was asking, I guess we can do a question about personal finance and then question about the program. Question about personal finance. Someone is asking why you're doing your wine budget annually rather than monthly. And I think you clarified, but maybe you want to explain again.
Yeah, I want the freedom to be able to buy it when I have something that I want to buy and not be blocked by my monthly budget. So if in February I want to buy, I see an offer and I want to buy 24 bottles, I want to be able to buy 24 bottles. I don't want to have to wait until whenever it is that I have the budget for it, and then not have that offer available, right? When I'm tasting wine, I want to be able to buy it now. So it's more about, because I have my yearly budget, I have the freedom to spend it whenever I want.
Nice. Yeah, that makes sense. Are there questions about the program? Actually, now if you want, you can turn on your microphone and turn on your cameras. And if you want to ask questions, that's also okay. There's no problem with that.
Yeah, I can put, where's the slide here?
Oh.
I should have put a slide at the end, this one.
No, a lot of people are thanking you for your time and for sharing your expertise. So that's good.
My pleasure. That's what I do it for.
But I don't see any questions, so maybe I'll ask questions.
Okay.
Because
I'm very curious what you're going to come up with.
There's one question
Can you hear me?
from Lotte.
Yes, we hear you. Yes.
I didn't dare to ask because it got hidden like 3 times, but it's a personal question. So I am earning in Japanese yen, and my house is here, so I'm renting it out and paying my loan with that. But so that actually means I'm tracking twice.
I didn't hear your introduction. What did you say in the introduction?
So I'm actually from Belgium, but now I'm working in Japan for a time. So I'm earning in Japanese yen. So I'm actually tracking 2 sheets differently. Would you recommend doing it like this, or actually like doing it differently?
No, I agree by currency. I agree by currency.
It's just a mess, especially if you want to bring some parts from one to the other, and like,
it
takes
a
away my overview.
Situation you're in the experience perspective, but yeah, there is administration to living abroad. No, especially, I mean, you're gonna have exchange rates, right? So it will not always be the same. So no, I would do it separately. I would keep.
I mean, if I use Revolut outside of weekends, more or less, you have like no costs for a certain amount of money. But that's up to 200 euros a month. So that's only for like extra spending if you need something extra.
Yeah, but you say you live in Japan. Are you working in Japan as well or not?
I'm moving there soon, but I get paid in it already.
Okay.
So I'll be.
If you're getting paid in yen, you do your budget in yen as well, right?
One of them, yes, and the other one's in euros because I still have my. I'm still living here for a month, so I'm still paying my food and my loan and everything. So I'm keeping both budgets.
Yeah, in the transition you will have that. Yeah, and with
you would keep it.
Yeah, I would keep them separate. And once you move to Japan, your Belgian budget will be very simple, right? It will just be the mortgage and the rent.
Probably, but yeah, the yearly taxes and everything else is of course it's not difficult, but it's not like zero either, right?
No, but I would keep it separate. I think for not avoiding any chaos, I would keep them separate.
And the problem I have with this is, if you want to invest, would you do it in euros or in yen? I guess yen would be my, that's like, what do I do? Because technically I'm still
the main.
Technically I'm still a Belgian citizen, but I mean your work is there, so it's like,
It depends on.
Sorry, Sebastian, for you.
It depends on where you see yourself living in the future.
There.
You're gonna move to Japan indefinitely, then it's probably worth building your personal finances there in the local currency, because you'll be spending money there in retirement, I guess. But if the plan, if you're unsure, then do whatever is easiest.
Euro.
If you know you're gonna be in Japan, then go for Japanese yen, right? If you know you're gonna be in Belgium, then stay in euros. But if it's like, if you don't know where you're gonna be because you're becoming an expat, then do what's easiest. And usually then it would be, if you paid in yen, just invest in yen, right? Because you don't know.
At the moment, I think euro is still the easiest, because you cannot get a yen investment account unless you live there X amount of years or something.
Okay, so that might put some restrictions on what you're able to do, but
sorry for the question. I was just like, this is my chance to ask.
That's fine.
Thank you.
No, of course. Is there someone else who has a question or a thought?
Hi.
Hello.
So so thank you again for the nice meeting. A lot of information. That was really great.
Pleasure.
So my question is, kind of a bit like the previous one on the currencies and where to invest. So I've seen on your website that you do a lot of ETF on the investment part. And I was just wondering, I've been looking around on the investing, and my question was, what is like, would you recommend someone buying these the bonds and the bills? What do they call them in Dutch? It's the Statsbond or whatever, what do you call them? I'm sorry, I'm
Government
using
bonds,
English.
yeah.
Yes, the government bonds. So I was looking around and I noticed that a lot of them outside Belgium, they have higher returns. And my question was, if you want to invest, like I'm a bit lost on how that works as a Belgian citizen. When you buy and you link it to a Belgian bank, obviously, like, do you end up losing the whole? Because I mean, like, we are here and we get charged like crazy. So is it worth investing the money, or buying buying those bills and bonds outside Belgium? Are you going to lose all the extra, the profit that you get when you return back the money to Belgium, or how does that work?
So this is not really a question for this session.
Yeah, I know, I understand.
I
I
can answer very
understand.
briefly.
Mhm.
So you can buy, anything that you want, and in some cases there are taxes that are applicable because they are within a specific part of the law, and usually state bonds outside of Belgium, you have to pay tax on the interest.
Mhm.
But there are some bonds where you don't have to pay those tax because they have zero coupon bonds. But the specifics of how all of this works, I can't tell you right now because it's
Mhm.
a little too
Yeah.
much.
And that was my question. I wanted to ask, do you organize specific, do you have specific meetings like this one where it's only about like the different types of investment that covers this?
If you check Fire Belgium, anything
Mhm.
related to Fire Belgium, you will find only investment conversations. So on the YouTube channel,
Mhm.
the podcast, on
Mhm.
the website. So check that and
Okay.
join the Fire Belgium Facebook group. That's what we talk about.
Okay. I saw a lot of information about ETF, so maybe I missed it. I did watch a lot of videos
Yeah,
from you.
we don't cover all bond stuff, but ask in the group,
Okay.
you'll get feedback.
Okay. All right. All right. Perfect. Thank you.
So I have a question from Tail. How do you track your expenses in Excel? Do you use CSV files to extract everything from, I guess,
So yeah,
apps
you just
and banks?
so personally, I'm a fan of typing it over because I've been doing it for decades. That's how I started at the time. My clients, yeah, they take downloads from the bank accounts and then they transfer it to the Excel. And then you have to do some formatting with your numbers because it doesn't always work out right. But yeah,
And it makes sense when you want to look at, say, past year of data, right, of expenses,
absolutely,
because you haven't been tracking, so you go and take the data you have. And
But
this
if you do a year in one go because you need to add your personalized categories to it, that's a lot of work. So I recommend my clients to start with 2 to 3 months max.
Yeah.
But a whole year of data is a lot of data because the banks sometimes they put categories on it, but they're not always making sense. Those categories, they don't serve you.